Hello and welcome back to Relentless Learning. We are here with another response video. Let's get to it.
Is described explicitly in the critical race theory literature, anti-racism is as a lifelong commitment to an ongoing process of self-reflection, self-critique, and social activism, and no one is ever done.
So this video begins with conflating critical race theory with anti-racism, which is a very, very big no-no, but we'll get to that in a moment. Lindsay also talks about how to be an anti-racist, to engage in anti-racism ideology, we have to be self-critical, we have to be ongoing, self-reflective, and this is kind of a forever process that it never finishes, to which I do this. Right? The whole idea is we're looking at ourselves in a world that's changing, right? And we come into different contexts of people. We're constantly looking at ourselves to see, self-check-ins, if you will. The implication is not that every single day you're out on the streets being like, have you checked in with yourself? Are you being racist? Are you being anti-racist? Like, we're not doing that on a daily basis. The way I like to think about it is the idea of not being a bystander, right? I'm not walking around on the subway, on the bus, on the street and being like, did you bully anyone? Have you been, rude to someone today? It's not that type of aggressive self-check-in, but it's more this idea of you exist in the world, and if you're presented with a situation where you can either be a bystander or not be a bystander, if, for example, the situation allows for it, I'm not putting my safety necessarily at risk, then I will not be a bystander. I will do something about it. And so I feel like being anti-racist, being an ally is similar, right? We exist and we live in the world, and let's say at the workplace, on the street, at home, we're presented with a situation where we have the capacity to say something, then you do. It's not this aggressive, I'm not going to call it fear-mongering, but it's not this idea that you have to be on constant high alert looking for problems. That's not my interpretation of what it means to be anti-racist. It just means that we're engaging in ongoing self-reflection, which presumably we do in other aspects, right? If you're a programmer and, a new language has been developed, you're going to be learning about that language either directly going to webinars or, through induction by talking with colleagues. So again, it's not this like in-your-face type of anti-racism. I actually feel a little sad if people have felt that is the case, but anecdotally speaking, it's kind of go at your own pace.
You have to actually become a critical race theorist. You're either a critical race theorist, thus anti-racist, or you're a racist. There is no neutral. That's something else they say about this.
So here he mentions this idea, if we want to be anti-racist, we must, by definition, become a critical race theorist, which, again, I do this too. And then the second point that he mentions is that there's what I consider to be a false dichotomy between either you're racist or you're not racist, and there's no gray space, in between. Now, I'm going to read a quote from the NSBA website, which says that critical race theory is a framework of legal and academic topics that examine social, cultural, and legal issues related to race and racism. It is primarily used in university-level courses. Now, this is the part where I want to insert that I think there is a very significant distinction between how CRT is being used in the States compared to Canada, because from what I've seen, it does seem to be that in the States, some people are throwing around CRT as if it's either being taught in public schools, elementary, middle, high schools, or if it's being equated with anti-racism. And based on what I've seen so far, guys, prove me wrong, send me some resources otherwise, teach me otherwise, but I haven't seen this to be the case in Canada, and I don't agree with anti-racism necessarily being exclusively equated to critical race theory. They're different things. And lastly, this idea of an either-or situation. It's either you're part of the problem, you're part of the solution. I do admit that there's, in any case, in any situation with any ideology, there's going to be a spectrum, right? And so I can only speak for myself in saying that when it comes to being an anti-racist, yes, it is an action item. It is about doing something about inequalities that you come across. But I don't think it necessarily means that anyone who is not an anti-racist is necessarily racist. Now, hear me out. I do agree that you have this realm of racist. You have this realm of, people doing the work to be an anti-racist, right? Fighting social justice and injustice rather. And then you have this like middle space. Now, from my perspective, I think, again, citing a previous video that we did on diversity, we have to consider how we can get people to move from one end towards the other end. And I don't think, finger pointing and being like, you're racist or you have racial tendencies, I personally don't think that's really going to help. So I think for myself, I hold a place for people to learn and feel comfortable to move from one end to the other. And likewise, I also think that in certain cases, inaction, not doing anything, it could be helpful in the same way that it could be unhelpful. So I don't think that this idea of either A or B, this binary, this doesn't help the situation. I feel like this just further separates us as people. So in the bio, I dropped 2 links that I found were helpful in understanding what critical race theory is and isn't in a relatively simplified way. Obviously, the articles are a little bit long. If I find something else, I'll update it in the bio. If, again, anyone has any other resources specifically to CRT in Canada, that would be very greatly appreciated. Otherwise, everyone, I will see you in the next video. Bye.